In September 2010, two CIA agents, while chasing a man named Al-Kuwaiti, reached a hilly village of Abbottabad, far from Islamabad. Perhaps their 10-year-long failed search was about to take a new turn. Welcome to another video of Review It Chanel. Suddenly, Al-Kuwaiti stops in front of the main gate of a large house. The gate opens and he enters the house. Seeing this house, the CIA agents are shocked because it was about 8 times bigger than the surrounding houses. It was surrounded by 18-foot-high walls topped with sharp barbed wire. The strangest part was that the third floor's balcony was surrounded by a 7-foot-high wall. The agents felt that these arrangements might be to protect someone important, so they kept a close watch on this house for a few days. In the following days, they found that the house had no telephone or internet service. Neither did the residents come out to throw away trash. Instead, they burned it inside. Moreover, apart from Al-Kuwaiti, no one entered or exited the house. Only occasionally, a tall man with a long beard was seen pacing rapidly inside. After considerable surveillance and verification, the agents sent a report to CIA headquarters. The report read, "We have found Laden." Reading the report from Abbottabad created a stir at CIA headquarters. As soon as he read it, the then CIA chief ran to US President Obama. After listening to the entire report, Obama became filled with enthusiasm and asked the CIA chief only one question. "What are our options to eliminate Laden?" The CIA chief replied that there were 2 options, an airstrike or a commando raid. Obama didn't say anything at the moment. Some time later, a high-level meeting was held. Present at the meeting were the Chief of Defense Staff and many senior military and intelligence officials. The airstrike option was dismissed in the meeting because it wouldn't provide solid proof of Laden's death, and he could have possibly hidden in an underground bunker. Now only one option remained, a commando raid. But this seemed as difficult as extracting honey from a beehive. In reality, sending American soldiers into Pakistani territory was considered an act of war, and the Pakistani army could respond by attacking those soldiers. If that happened, this raid would be nothing less than sending the commandos into a death trap. Forget killing Laden, even the blood of their own commandos would be on their hands. At that moment, Obama breaks the silence in the room and says, "Gentlemen, we have to take this risk. Give our commandos enough backup so that, if necessary, we are ready to take on the Pakistani army as well. But I want my commandos back safe and sound at any cost." From that moment, America began preparations for the most daring operation in its history. Laden's countdown had begun. The operation was named Operation Neptune Spear. Soon after, 24 of the best commandos from the US Navy's SEAL Team 6 were selected. This team is like a sleeping superhero awakened just before the world ends because they handle the most secretive and risky missions for the US, such as hostage rescues, special espionage operations, and eliminating the most dangerous enemies of the USA. After selecting the commandos, the CIA created a model in the US, an exact replica of Laden's house, based on intelligence inputs and preparations for the raid began. After practicing all the intricacies of the operation for a few days, the commandos departed for Afghanistan to carry out America's biggest revenge. May 2, 2011, around 10 p.m., at Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, the mission briefing began for the 24 Navy SEALs. The mission that would show Osama Bin Laden, responsible for destroying many American homes, the gates of hell. As soon as the briefing ended, the Navy SEALs picked up some of the world's most advanced weapons, wore their combat gear, and boarded 2 Black Hawk helicopters one by one. These helicopters were specially designed for the mission so that no Pakistani radar could detect them, even in their dreams. At 11 p.m., the 2 helicopters took off from Bagram Air Base toward Abbottabad, Pakistan. About an hour later, at midnight, the commandos had entered Pakistani airspace and were just 30 minutes away from Abbottabad. Even though these commandos were among the best in the world, as they got closer to Laden, a strange uneasiness filled their hearts, and memories of time spent with their families began to flood their minds. At that moment, the team commander shouted, "Commandos, get ready to avenge the deaths of your brothers and sisters." The whole helicopter filled with their war cry. At 12:30 a.m., the lead helicopter's pilot brought the aircraft very close to the ground and said over the radio, "We are hovering over the target." The commandos opened the helicopter doors and were ready to descend with ropes. If everything went right, they would have been on the ground, but everything didn't go right. Suddenly, the helicopter began to shake violently. Sirens started blaring, and then, with a heavy jolt, it crashed to the ground. The commandos in the second helicopter saw all of this from a distance. The sound of the crash was so loud that they thought the entire operation had been exposed. But fortunately, none of the commandos were injured, and they began exiting the crashed helicopter one by one. The second helicopter landed outside the house, and the commandos used ropes to climb over the 18-foot wall and enter. At 12:35 a.m., the commandos used a detonator to blow open the first-floor door and entered the dimly lit house. They began searching the entire floor. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out from behind. One bullet grazed a commando's hand. Before another could be fired, the commandos turned and gunned down Al-Kuwaiti. In this gunfight, Al-Kuwaiti's brother and his wife were also shot, but unfortunately, none of them were laden. 12:37 a.m., first floor clear, one commando said, and they started moving toward the second floor. The element of surprise was now gone. No one knew how many people and weapons were waiting on the second floor. As the commandos climbed the stairs, they moved closer to danger. As soon as they stepped on the second floor, the lead commando was met by Laden's son, standing with an AK-47, his face red with rage, as if to say, "To reach my father, you'll have to go through me." But the commandos, far more dangerous, didn't hesitate and shot him down. 11:39, the commandos began climbing to the third floor, Laden's room. As they climbed, a fear crossed their minds. With all this noise, maybe Laden had escaped. He had always stayed one step ahead of America. The commandos reached the third floor, and the result of their 10 years of effort was not what they expected. Laden, unarmed, was peeking out the window of his room. Before he could do anything, the commandos fired. The bullet hit his shoulder, and he fell inside the room. With lightning speed, the commandos stormed the room. But Laden, who had caused pain to the world, now had no place to hide. He hid behind one of his many wives present there. Possessed by death, the commandos didn't think twice. They shot the woman in the knee, and she immediately fell. Before Laden could react, a commando shot him in the forehead and then in the chest, killing him on the spot. The man who had made thousands of families weep with blood was now lying on the ground like a sack of flour. Without wasting any time, the commandos photographed Laden's body and sent the images to the CIA Operations Center. After facial confirmation, a smile spread across the commandos' faces. 12:55 a.m., the commandos brought Laden's dead body to the ground floor and began collecting useful CDs and hard drives from the house. Once a goldmine of terrorist information. 1:05 a.m., by now, the commandos had packed both Laden's body and the intelligence data, and boarded the helicopter back to Afghanistan. Even after Laden's death, the operation wasn't over because one helicopter had crashed, and no arrangements were yet made for all the commandos to exit. Time was running out because a crowd had started gathering outside, and the Pakistani army could arrive at any moment. 1:08 a.m. After 3 minutes of waiting, a roaring sound was heard in the sky. The commandos looked up and saw Chinook helicopters, which appeared like angels at that moment. The commandos boarded the Chinooks immediately and carried out one final important task. They destroyed the crashed helicopter completely so that the Pakistanis couldn't reverse engineer the stealth technology used. The commandos were now inside the helicopters, but the sense of freedom they were feeling couldn't be measured. The rage they had before killing Laden had now turned into tears of joy. By this time, the news had reached the White House. After 10 years of relentless pursuit, America had finally delivered justice to its innocent people. 2:53 a.m. The commandos reached Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. The first thing they did was send Laden's DNA samples to the CIA. The CIA presented the DNA report to Obama, and it was now 100% confirmed that Laden was dead. 8:35 a.m. President Obama, in an official address, gave this good news to the world. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama Bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda. The operation had ended successfully, but now a new dilemma arose. What to do with Laden's body? No country wanted to present itself to the world as a terrorist sympathizer, so everyone refused to accept Laden's body. After much deliberation, the USA decided that Laden would be buried at sea, following all Islamic rituals. Within 24 hours, his body was wrapped in a white sheet and released into international waters. Friends, now you might be thinking, with such a big terrorist gone, did terrorism really suffer a major blow? Personally, I'd say the answer is both yes and no. In countries like Egypt and Tunisia, Laden used to plan al-Qaeda's activities, so his death was a major blow there. Secondly, Laden was a master of funding. With him gone, al-Qaeda's funding network collapsed. As a result, a sudden drop in attacks was seen in these countries. One more thing, terrorists around the world looked up to Laden with great respect. For them, he was no less than a messiah. But now they understood that, if their messiah couldn't survive, what chance did they have? This thought broke them psychologically. But when the world learned that Laden had been hiding in Pakistan faced a lot of embarrassment. Although Pakistan always denied this fact, the reality is that Pakistan had a big role in hiding Laden, as his house was only 100 kilometers from Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, and right near the Pakistan Military Academy. Though the Pakistani government claimed to have no idea, according to a 2024 report by the New York Times, ISI Director General Ahmad Shuja Pasha knew about Laden's presence in Abbottabad. Additionally, David Ignatius wrote in the Washington Post that former ISI Chief General Ziauddin but said the Abbottabad compound was used by the Intelligence Bureau or ISI, and that Laden's shelter in Abbottabad was arranged by senior ISI officer Brigadier Ijaz Shah on orders from Pervez Musharraf. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to the channel.